All right, guys. Thanks for joining once again. It's good to be back. This is Durden from the Lifinity Discord, and we're here with another AMA. This one, it's been quite a while since the last time that we did one. Um, yeah, so it's really good to be back doing one of these again. In the meantime, all your questions have been answered in our Discord or on Twitter. But definitely a different vibe when questions are answered live and we can interact live. So, and of course, you all love my lovely voice, don't you? Nah. So, anyways, let's get started. Let's see. I think we're just going to jump right into the questions today. So, yeah, for those on Twitter, people are posting their questions in our AMA questions channel in our Discord. So, if we ever run out of questions, we might move over to having people on stage on Twitter, but otherwise, all the questions will be on the Discord. So, yeah, if you have any questions, just post them there. All right, so let's get started. First question we have Ezekiel asks, how scalable is the Lifinity model? Do you think big dexes could migrate and work as Lifinity does? Yeah, so Lifinity is TLDR, it is not as scalable as other AMM models. So with other AMM models, like I guess the main thing is like they don't limit how much liquidity they accept. And in fact, they want to maximize the amount of liquidity that they have. The more liquidity they have, the better prices they offer, which means the more volume they get, which means the more protocol fees they earn. And this is why they like to do liquidity mining, because when there's incentives, that means more people provide liquidity. So what's different about Lifinity's model is that we are not looking to maximize the amount of liquidity that we have. Rather, we're maximizing profitability. And one of the big differences with us is that we own a lot of the liquidity on our platform. And when you own the liquidity, you get all the trading fees it generates. You don't have to share it with liquidity providers. So the question is like, with the liquidity that the protocol owns, how do we want to use it? And if you've read part 4 of our tokenomics, you're probably familiar with the concept of how there's this thing called the target liquidity, which is the amount of liquidity where the fees earned per LP token are maximized. So it's basically the most efficient way to use your liquidity. And so that's basically what we aim to do. And that means that we don't want our pools to have infinite amounts of liquidity. We want them to have the amount of liquidity that is just enough to maximize the trading fees earned per LP token. And so in that sense, we're not infinitely scalable. We're not looking for infinite amounts of liquidity, whereas other dexes are. So that's one thing. Another thing is like how profitable can we become? This also is not infinite. We are limited by most fundamentally how much trading volume there is. And that in turn is dependent on some other things. For example, a bunch of trades on our platform are arbitrage trades between our pools and the pools of constant product market makers and concentrated liquidity market makers. And so, for example, if we were the only DEX on Solana, we actually wouldn't be doing as good as we're doing right now, because all those arbitrage trades would disappear. So, yeah, that's also a factor that limits our scalability, I guess. Um, yeah, I hope that answers the question, the first part. And then you ask, do I think big dexes could migrate and work as we do? I mean, they certainly could, of course. There's nothing stopping them, right? Um, the problem or the issue is the Like that's a huge effort. You're changing the way your pools work fundamentally. And also, like the way ours works, it's like intimately tied to our tokenomics, right? Like we do everything differently. And so if they used our market making model, but without the tokenomics, I'm not sure how that would work. I mean, it can definitely work different ways. It's not like our model is the only way that it could work. But anyways, like it would be a huge, huge change. So it's like, do they really want to put in all the effort? I think the less well a protocol is doing, the more incentivized it is to change their model and try to copy something that is working. So for example, I think like Orca, they're not going to do what we're doing because like they have tons of volume already, right? But for example, look at the bottom tier dexes on Jupiter. Just look at the ones with like very small amounts of volume. Like maybe they might consider it, but yeah, I mean like eventually someone's gonna copy us, right? I feel like it's inevitable. Um, but yeah, it's definitely not easy. Uh, yeah, I don't know if I should go more into it. Like, like coding it is not easy. Acquiring the liquidity is not easy. Getting the brand recognition is not easy. Um, building the trust with the community is not easy. Yeah, it just takes a lot. So, but yeah, I think I've probably talked on that enough. So moving on. Next question we have universe. Now it's a very long question. I'm going to read through all of it. Actually, maybe I'll just read parts of it and answer as I go. All right, so here it goes. They ask, is it still possible to develop more perks for the NFTs in the long term? It feels strange to hear that you are, quote, done with creating value for the NFT. It would be more attractive to create more value for your first investors. So we never said we're done creating value for flares. On the contrary, we are constantly creating more value for the flares. We never stop creating value for the flares. And in fact, we never stop improving the mechanism by which that value is created. We have sustainable revenue. And this is something that most NFT projects cannot claim. And this is precisely what gives our project staying power. There's tons and tons of projects that, have momentary hype and price goes up a lot. And then it goes back down basically forever. And obviously, our project, like there's also speculation for flares. So like, yeah, there's going to be like ups and downs to the price. But so I think, always the clearest indicator and the only one I really care about is how are we doing relative to the mint price. And right now we're over 4x from the mint price, which, not many projects can say. I mean, some projects are way more than 4x, obviously, but like being above 4x after what's it been like it's almost like 6 months or more now. Like not many projects can say that. Yeah, all right, let me get back to the question. So continuing, says, I hate to make the comparison, but we all know we are categorized into the NFT type category where Genesis Go is placed. Oh, right. So like utility NFTs, I guess you're saying. Although you cannot compare completely, I do see a big difference in the value creation of the NFT. For example, they would still not have created the full value for the NFT by a long way. So there is much more to come. Although it was not described in the roadmap, delivering more than promised is greatly appreciated by everyone. All right, so let's see. Comparing to Genesis Go. All right, so um yeah, so disclaimer, like I own a Gen Go, and like I think what they're doing is great. But, just a fact, like don't have they don't yet produce revenue. Well, actually, I mean, like they have revenue from the NFT secondary royalties, and they use that to pay for running their RPC, which is amazing, right? That's like free service for the Solana ecosystem, which is awesome. As for their NFTs or like their token, because as far as I understand, like basically the NFTs are mainly like a token distribution mechanism. So it's like, how do the tokens accrue value? That's mainly through their shadow drive. So basically, the more people use the drive, you need the shadow tokens to use the drive. So it's basically dependent on demand for that. And like they just launched it, so you can't expect like tons of demand right off the bat. It's probably gonna gradually increase over time. So yeah, so that's them, and like they're doing their thing, and I love it. But on the other hand, like as a matter of fact, like they still don't like I said, like there's still not much demand for shadow, which I think is the future value accrual part. Whereas for us, like we already have a successful way of generating revenue, and actually like quite a bit. Like I don't know if there's any other NFT project that generates as much revenue as we do as a percentage of like our market cap. Like it's a lot. Like it's really good. Um, so yeah, I mean, like even comparing with Genesis Go, like I don't know, like so I mean their NFTs are way more valuable. That's the thing, right? So if you look at just the NFTs, yeah, they have tons more value. And that's definitely tied to the fact that the NFTs are 50% of um, their entire token supply, whereas for us, it's just 1%. Um, so yeah, now the comparison gets really hairy because like it's like no one knows what should be the total market cap value of shadow tokens and Lifinity tokens. So it's like um yeah, like you just have to include a bunch of assumptions to make like any meaningful comparison there. But anyways, like yeah, I don't see what the problem is in terms of like value creation. Like we're creating tons of value, continually buying back flares, and just look at the like absolute dollar value of revenue we're generating, and yeah. All right, to finish your question, striving for more value increases the value of the NFT, just like not striving for more value equals a decrease of the NFT its value, decreasing the value of the NFT, I guess. Just my opinion at the moment. I think we all benefit much more from it. Apologies if this has already been discussed in the past. Oh, trust me, it has definitely been discussed in the past. I mean, but it's totally fine that we're discussing it now too. But yeah. So here's the thing: like, we're totally open to adding new value to the flares. It's just that I haven't really come across any good ideas. Most of the ideas I've come across is basically a way to take away value from VE Lifinity holders and give it to flare holders. And those are non-viable options. We need to find a way to like create new value, not take it away from like other parts within our ecosystem. So yeah, we're totally open to ideas, just that Haven't really seen any. I mean, I think, my hope is that the Flare DAO comes together to create value because the way I see it, like the best NFTs are the ones where the community is awesome and the community is creating value. And it's not like super dependent on like just having the team do everything. Because what the team can do, like naturally, is very few team members in any team. And so what they can do is limited. But if the whole community comes together and they do something, then, well, you have a lot of people, which means you can get a lot more done. And so as for the team, like the most value add thing we can do for Flares is to keep improving our decks because that is what improves the profitability, the amount of revenue we generate. So that's what we're heads down focused on, and always have been, really. I think you guys know if you've kept up with everything we've been doing. And yeah, like anything beyond that, I would hope the DAO steps up because the DAO does now have some funds to work with, and it also has bought back Flares to work with. There's already been some ideas, just not like a ton of like people being super active, like trying to make stuff happen. Yeah, so let's see, did I miss anything? Yeah, so it's kind of how I'm thinking about value creation for Flares. I hope that answers your question. Let me know if you have a follow-up question to that. Let me take a sip. All right. Next question, we have Brob asking, would like more frequent reward distribution. We are in a volatile climate, which makes longer duration reward distribution more risky. Daily or weekly at a minimum would be preferred. All right, so Smitten replied with a link to our announcement about reward claiming. We actually held a vote asking people if they would prefer weekly claims or monthly claims. The trade-off being that if we do weekly claims, because they're manual right now, it means the devs have less time for development, whereas if we do monthly claims, that means there's more time for development. So basically, it's just a matter of priorities. And then people voted, there were 30 votes for weekly claims and 246 votes for monthly claims. So the preference was pretty clear in that case. So yeah, that's why we're keeping it monthly for now. And then eventually we will be trying to automate the reward distribution process a lot more. So then once it's automated, it can become more frequent. But yeah, not a high priority at the moment. All right. Mad Shoe says GMT. Not sure if there's a question. If you want me to talk about GMT, maybe you should clarify if you do want that. Let's see. All right, Speedy says 50% buyback, 50% rewards. Is that set in stone or up for change in the future? Thinking more rewards. Yeah, so this is not set in stone. So yeah, we can definitely talk about changing that as a DAO. Let's see. So yes, let me just like talk through some options of what could potentially be. So one is just like move everything to rewards. And yeah, let me just like explain like the trade-offs of each option. So basically the 50% buyback, 50% rewards is like, in my mind at least, the like naive option. It's kind of like a balanced option. So what the buybacks do, and I think it's especially useful right now because we have, so one, we're still a nascent protocol. And two, we have Lifinity emissions to flares, which means that over the course of a year, there's going to be more sell pressure because there's more Lifinity entering the circulating supply. And so buybacks counteract that potential sell pressure. Yeah. And yeah, the rewards obviously are great because I mean, like it's a unique feature as a DEX, even though, it probably should be standard. um, but yeah, so like for example, if we move to 100% rewards, then the upside of that is that our APR will double. The downside is that Lifinity price will probably fall. So basically, that option, it's like it's geared more toward long-term investors because like if your VE Lifinity is locked, you're less incentivized to start unlocking because you probably won't be able to sell your Lifinity as high a price compared to if we were doing buybacks. So basically, this is like, just max out the rewards, screw buybacks option. Um, yeah, we could. So, I mean, another option would be like 100% buyback, 0% rewards. I mean, I don't think anyone wants that, but just to mention it as an option. That would be, I don't know, if like everyone's looking to exit, I guess. Kind of yeah, it's a weird thing to think about, but and then so some other options actually that I have been thinking about is so we keep the 50-50, but we change what we do with the buyback. So right now we use all the USDC to buy back Lifinity, and then the Lifinity goes to our treasury. So what if instead we used half the USDC to buy back Lifinity, and then we pair that bought back Lifinity with the remaining USDC and put it back into the pool. So the difference is that one, the Lifinity price does not go up as much because we're not buying back as much. And two, instead of increasing the assets in our treasury, the amount of liquidity increases gradually with the buybacks. Right now, when we do the buybacks, it's not increasing the liquidity. We're just increasing the amount of USDC relative to Lifinity. Whereas with this, we're putting all the buyback tokens back into the pool, so it would increase liquidity over time. So that's one option, and then another option would be don't do any buyback, but use the bought back USDC, pair it with Lifinity tokens from the treasury, and then deposit all that into the liquidity pool. So this also increases liquidity, actually twice as much as the previous option, but there's no buyback effect. So it doesn't increase price at all. It just increases liquidity at the fastest rate possible. But it also uses Lifinity from our treasury. So anyways, those are some options I thought of. I actually haven't like really seen people talk about the amount of liquidity in our Discord, like almost never. Like there was some discussion about it like soon after the VE IDO, but nowadays like I don't hear like anything about it. So my feeling is that people aren't concerned about the amount of liquidity right now. That might change over time. I don't know. Anyways, just some options to keep in mind. All right. Moving on. Oh, Smitten, thanks for confirming that it sounds okay on Twitter. Appreciate that. All right. Speedy asks, let's say we add Orca or GST. Thought of setting the fees slightly higher due to less competition on those tokens? Yeah, sure. I mean, like, the fees we set, like the only thing that matters really is maximizing the total the revenue. We're just trying to maximize the revenue. So whatever fees accomplishes that, we'll choose that. And let's see. So basically, if we raise fees, it means more revenue per trade, but less trades because fewer trades will be routed to our protocol because of the higher fees. And then also, it probably also has some sort of effect on market making profit. So if we have higher fees, it means fewer trades, which means we'll probably rebalance a little bit less frequently. So if I had to guess, it would probably reduce market making profit, but yeah, I'm not sure. That effect, I mean, but the bottom line is like you can't know these things without actually testing them out. You can't like calculate it with an equation or something. You have to actually test it in the wild. So yeah, like it'll be a matter of just like testing out what is the optimal fee. But yeah. Bruce Lee Trading asks, any plan with neutral market leverage farming strategy like alpaca or francium? Yeah, so definitely want to integrate into Tulip and francium, I would say. So if you saw our most recent announcement, we mentioned that we're actually, let me take a look at it just so I don't screw it up. Let's see, where am I? Okay. Yeah, so we're adding support for LP collateralization for Hubble, which means Hubble will be able to use our LP tokens as collateral to mint USDH. Basically, this is just creating an API. So, or I think, yeah. So the protocol will be able to get the assets that are within the LP tokens. So basically, a simple way for them to withdraw the liquidity that's within the LP tokens. So that's something that we'll also be able to use for Tulip and Francium. So once that is complete, I will be reaching out to them. Yeah, definitely already kind of talked about it with Francium in the past. They're at least interested. It's not like we've confirmed anything, but yeah, and I assume Tulip would be interested in too. And right now, I think the most useful pairs would be Bitcoin USDC and Ethereum USDC. The reason being they have spare capacity, so people can deposit more assets there, and their yield for both USDC and for BTC or Ethereum are like very good, like top notch. Like they're better than any USDC yield you'll find anywhere, I think, and also any ETH or BTC yield you'll find anywhere. So there might be like higher yields if you do leveraged yield farming with Ethereum paired with some other asset. But yeah, that's not taking the impermanent loss into account, whereas our numbers for our net APR do take impermanent loss into account. So I think they actually are the highest. And the other thing is like currently we don't really mind having more assets because we still don't know what the optimal levels of liquidity for Ethereum or BTC are. So if we deposit more and then APR doesn't decrease, that means, well, we just found a new level of optimal liquidity. We previously had not enough, or basically we had more room for more. So that'd be good to find out. On the other hand, if we realize that now we have too much because the APR decreased, in that case, we can do what we did to the SOL pools previously. So basically, LPs would just get no trading fees and only the market making profit. So basically, they would be incentivized to withdraw their liquidity. But we also don't care if they don't withdraw because we're keeping all their trading fees anyways. So APR is down for the pool, but since we're keeping all the trading fees without having like not being responsible for all the liquidity. Like it's basically a winning situation for us. So anyways, the point being like we wouldn't be like screwing ourselves over if we realize after the fact that, oh, now the pool has too much liquidity. Like it's still fine. Because that's kind of what happened with the Sol pools, or I think it was Sol USDT especially. If you remember, like it had more than the optimal level of liquidity. But then we just turned off trading fees for LPs, and I think a bunch of people withdrew. So yeah. Then you also say Forex Keck. I don't know what that's about, but all right. All right, Speedy says, can't complain about the NFTs. They've been a great success. Yeah, thank you. I agree. All right, Passenger says, will there be a possibility to directly send the tokens when flares are staked to the holder's wallet? Okay, I think they're asking when you stake a flare, they want the Lifinity tokens sent directly to your wallet rather than having to claim them. No, we do not have plans to implement that. So actually, if you remember, not sure if you were here, but originally our plan was to do airdrops of Lifinity tokens. And so basically that's what you're suggesting right here is to do airdrops instead of stake and claim. And the whole reason we avoided this is because we saw other projects doing airdrops and like facing many, many problems. Like, I mean, it looked like a nightmare, like every time they do an airdrop, they would have to redo a bunch of them because transactions didn't go through. And, you know, like it would increase the support burden hugely. Just like tons of people claiming they didn't get their airdrop and blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, I'm really glad we did not go that route. I mean, there's obviously some inconveniences with the staking route, like you have to claim and stuff like that. But I think this was the right thing to do, all in all. So yeah, sorry you have to keep claiming, but yeah, that's the model we're gonna stick with. All right, Bandit 0x says, I quite like buybacks. The best publicity is a rising price, and buybacks boost the price and help bring attention to the protocol. Yeah, so this was definitely part of the intention of including the buybacks and not putting everything into rewards. And also, like, just the fact that you can say, we have rewards and we have buybacks, because, like, people are attracted to, like, different things. Some people think rewards are the shit. And other people think buybacks are the shit. So, like we have something that can, what's the word? Can attract various types of people, which I think is good. And yeah, this is also what I meant by this is like the naive option. We get to observe both, and like maybe with time it'll become clear like which is more valuable, and then we can just shift the percentages to match that. So yeah, I think it's I'm happy with how it is right now. I mean, we haven't even started the buybacks, but yeah, I think it would be good to just like leave it for a while, see how things are, and then once we're better informed, we can make adjustments if we think that's a good idea. Oh, but Bandit Zero X does say prefer it to be rewards, to be honest, although unpopular opinion. I mean, I'm not sure if it is unpopular. I know like most of the people here are like all about the rewards. And yeah, I mean like I guess maybe a potential downside is like people see the APR and actually like in terms of the total revenue we're generating, it's actually double that, right? It's just that the other half is going to buybacks, and some people can miss that nuance. I mean, here at Lifinity, we know all about people missing the nuance, right? There's a lot of nuance to our project, so. All right, moving on. We have Speedy says 100% buyback, Lifinity to the moon. Yeah, true. Uh, yeah, if we did that, I mean, I'm sure more people would start unlocking just so they could sell. Well, yeah, of course, 'cause they're not even getting any rewards, so that would be weird. VE Lifinity would totally lose its purpose in the absence of rewards. All right. Um, Bandit 0x. 50/50 is good. In my opinion, increasing liquidity isn't necessarily a positive. I believe in the project, and liquidity reduces price impact, both up and down. If you believe buy pressure is greater than sell pressure in the future, you'd rather have less liquidity. Only large buyers or large dumpers need deep liquidity. Additionally, the Lifinity USDC pool would almost certainly suffer greater impermanent loss than fees because it's so volatile / low trading volume. So the treasury gets drained by the liquidity provided. Yeah, I resonate with a lot of what's written here. Um, People do miss the fact that when you have more liquidity, it like people usually fixate on the fact that the more liquidity you have, it's harder for the price to go down, but they miss the fact that it's also true that it makes it harder for the price to go up as well. Um, let's see. Yeah, yeah, good comments. All right, Bruce Lee trading 4x from flares. Not sure what that's about. Maybe you're talking about the price increase from inception. Looks like we're almost at 5x now. 7.42 SOL. Nice. 000X says, dang, completely missed it. One question though. What happens to this Discord if you ever go on vacation? Wow, a question I was not prepared to answer. um, if it goes on vacation, 000X, you are in charge. Our 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 um yeah, I mean like you've been a great support in our in our server for a long time, so but if I go on vacation, I mean like yeah, I don't know if I would. I feel like even if I went on vacation, I would still check. I mean, I kind of do go on vacation, like sort of like I've been away from home. You guys just didn't know. But yeah, I don't know how to answer that question. I mean, like, nothing bad would happen. It would be fine. All right, Gaius says, I don't give a hoot about the buybacks. Rewards, baby. Happy to also start working on the DAO. Thank you for organizing this, Durden. So before I get to your question, yeah, uh, Gaius is like one of those people who has always only talked about the rewards, never mentioned buybacks. So yeah, this is Gaius definitely came to mind when I mentioned earlier that some people just care about rewards. Quick question. What is the main technical issue the team is currently working on? What is key of what is happening behind the scenes? Keep up the good work. Yeah, so I think our recent announcement covers that. So like a bunch of things we're working on, right? So the very current thing we're working on is custom oracles. So we've got confirmation from UXD, Hubble, and Parrot that they want custom pools for UXD Sol, USDH Sol, and Pi Sol. So that's what we're working on right now. Um, let's see. Back to your question. Did I answer it? The main technical issue. I'm not sure if that's what you meant when you said main technical issue, but like that is the thing we are working on right now. Um, what is key of what is happening behind the scenes? Um, I mean, like we try to keep it as little as possible, the like behind the scenes part. Like some protocols they like build something and then there's like boom, there's like this announcement. It's like no one knew about it and it's like, whoa. Like we're not really like that. I think, as you know, like we try to keep the community in the loop all the way. For better or for worse. Because I mean, like surprise announcements can have their advantage, I assume. But yeah. So I mean, yeah, there's not much of a behind the scenes. Yeah, we try to keep you guys informed as much as possible. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I feel like I may have kind of missed it, or maybe if it's just like a wording thing. But okay, cool. Yeah, thanks for all your support, Gaius, as usual. Um, really appreciate it. Always giving us shout outs on Twitter and stuff. And yeah, being active in the Discord. All right, 000X is shit regarding having to run the Discord in my absence. Nah, you'll be fine. Bandit Xerox says Durden goes on vacation. This guy takes over. It's a picture of the narrator from Fight Club. Yeah, exactly. It's all backwards here. Durden is a normal guy, but in my unconscious state, this guy takes over. Okay. Just Me 123 says, "What are your thoughts on gold from Synthetify? I would honestly love a gold USDC pool when volume increases. I'm sure market making algo would benefit gold price action. Yes, I'm just a gold gobbler." Yeah, so I mean, I think the main thing is volume, and I don't know that there's like I mean there must be like hardly any volume for gold, I assume, on Solana. I mean, like, plenty of people want to trade gold, they just don't want to trade it on Solana. And that could very well change, but it doesn't seem like that would happen anytime soon. So for me at least, like it's not really on my radar. Yeah. So yeah, we'll just have to see how that develops, but for now, not really thinking about it. Um, Speedy says then Lifinity would have to mint it. It's got a picture of um Synthetify's gold asset, X Gold. Let's see. Is that the trading volume? $1,011. I mean, yeah, if that's a 24-hour volume, then it's like very small. So yeah. Oh, it's the minted amount. I see. I see. I mean, yeah, if that's the minted amount, then trading volume must be even less than $1,000. So yeah. There's also Paxos Gold. Oh, is that? Oh, it's on Solid. Huh. I never even knew. What other assets might Solid be hiding from us? All right. Only 13 holders. Okay. All right. JDB says, "Can you update on the state of the funds from the IDO? How much is still sitting idle, lent out, and how does that feed into plans for new trading pairs?" Yeah, so it's basically the same. I don't have the absolute dollar amounts. But like, so we gave you the breakdown back when we first deployed the funds, and since then the value of the volatile assets have, I think, all decreased. So like the Sol, BTC, ETH, etc. So those are worth less. USDC has not changed. So I think that'll give you like an overall idea. Um, yeah, I mean, like people want updates on this sometimes, understandably. And so yeah, this is basically a thing for our dashboard. Um, I mean, like we don't want to. It's similar to the claiming thing, like um, like organizing all the data around like how much or how our POL is spread out and like presenting it to you. Like it does take a bunch of work. So yeah, it's not like yeah, we're not really doing it frequently. Also because like there's not really much to update on. It's not like we've made like huge changes or anything. So yeah, when we have our dashboard out, that will be you'll be able to see it in real time, which will be awesome. And then you won't have to ask us about it anymore. So yeah, please wait for the dashboard. All right, Epромino asks regarding the custom oracles for the new Sol stable pairs. What would be the risks for creating such custom oracles for UXD, USDC, USDH, USDC, and Pi USDC? So actually, or wait, okay. So wait, are you asking? Did you mean to ask about UXD Sol, etc., or did you actually mean to ask about UXD, USDC, etc.? Because the pools we're creating are UXDC Sol, etc. Okay. Yeah, so they're asking about UXD Sol, etc., not USDC. Okay, so yeah. So as I understand it, the way we're doing this is we have the price feed for Sol from Pyth, and that's paired with USDC. So we have the value of Sol in USDC. And then for the stablecoins, the way we get their value is using their largest pool on Solana. So for example, UXD has a large pool, the largest pool on Saber. And so we're using that as our oracle. So then we can triangulate between the Sol USDC and the UXD USDC pools to get a Sol UXD pool. Hope that makes sense. And so the risk involved with that is we're getting the price from the Saber pool. So yeah. So one thing when you do oracles, you have to be careful about is price manipulation. With the Pyth price feed, you don't really need to worry about that because like Sol is so liquid across a bunch of centralized exchanges. And you have a bunch of data providers providing that data. So like just one of them can't really screw it up. But for the UXD USDC price oracle, we're doing a custom oracle. So this is not a Pyth price feed. It's something we're making ourselves. And UXD is a lot less liquid than Sol. So its price is more easily manipulated. People could sell or buy a bunch of UXD and influence the price. And then, of course, that would influence the UXD Sol price that we're offering as well. So yeah, this is something to keep in mind and something, I mean, yeah, the team is keeping in mind as they develop the custom oracle to like protect against manipulation. So yeah, let's see. Is there any other risk besides that? So in this case, we're not holding the assets, so we don't have like the price risk. So yeah, there's not that. I think that is the only risk, you know, besides like the generic smart contract risk that everything in crypto has. Yeah. All right. And second part of your question, and can you say anything at the moment regarding the kind of cooperation we're going to have with these projects? Is it market making as a service or liquidity as a service or the one where we had UXD USDC pool? Yeah, so the UXD USDC pool is basically market making as a service because they're providing the liquidity. And yeah, like I just mentioned when discussing the previous topic, it will be market making as a service. I think it's going to be that for all the protocols. Uh, I think. Yeah, so probably all the protocols are going to be providing the assets. We just provide the market making infrastructure and then we keep all the trading fees. And they keep the market making profit, whether it's positive or negative. Yeah, so that's the plan. Oh yeah, one thing to mention regarding that that I think you'll find interesting. So because we're doing SOL pools, if a bunch of trades get routed through these new pools, it's possible that this means our SOL USDC pool gets fewer trades just because some SOL trade is cheaper through these other routes. So for example, like if someone is trading SOL for USDC, the cheapest route could be SOL to UXD to USDC, in which case it would be routed through our SOL UXD pool and not our SOL USDC pool. But of course, this is fine because we're keeping all the trading fees. So in total, we're going to be earning more trading fees. It's just that the SOL USDC pool might have less. Uh, yeah, I mean, can't say if this will actually be the case until we actually see it. But if you do see like volume decrease once we open these new pools, that might be playing a factor. Just something interesting to keep in mind. Um, cool. Yeah, so I think that answers that question. Okay. Sayuna asks, how is the Lifinity buyback bot coming? Any tentative timeline on its readiness? When buyback? Yes, everyone wants to front run the buyback. Actually, probably not you. But let's see the buyback bot. Yeah, I mean, like, so there's a bunch of things we're working on. Um, this is one of them. There's no timeline in general. I don't think we are going to be providing timelines as it accomplishes nothing by us saying them. If we do things on time, then nobody cares. They are not impressed. They are not thankful. They are nothing. They are neutral. If we do it ahead of time, they are slightly impressed, but they, for the most part, also don't care. If we are late, they are angry. They will complain. We will get all kinds of shit. And if you don't know, development is incredibly hard to predict. Um, it's not it's not like a factory where you have predictable processes that you know how much time each step will take, so you can calculate the total amount of time that's going to take. Development does not work like that. Development has testing, and if testing goes perfectly, then you're probably going to be ahead of schedule. If testing goes poorly, then you're going to have a lot of bugs and errors that you're going to need to fix, and that could put you behind schedule. You just never know. And so, yeah, it's really not productive for us to like be providing timelines, which are basically just like guesses, right? It's like we can guess if you want, but like I explained earlier, like once we put out a number, like people attach to that. And then because humans have a negativity bias, whenever we're on time, like it doesn't matter. It's totally neutral. If we're ahead of time, it's slightly good. If we're behind schedule, it's very bad. So it's like the odds are against us. So, like if we were to provide timelines, what does that incentivize us to do? Well, it incentivizes us to not give our best average estimate. It incentivizes us to basically lie, like, say it's going to take 4 weeks when we actually think on average it'll only take two, so that we don't get shit on. But anyways, I hope that gives some perspective. Anyways, the Lifinity buyback bot is coming. Do not worry. Um, yeah, and also like, yeah, I'll just leave it at that. All right, cool. What is this emoji? Thank you. You're welcome. Speedy is just market buy 60K USD. I did consider that because, as long as people don't expect it, it's fine. Can't, you're not gonna get front run if no one expects it. But we'll see. All right, Bruce Lee trading. Is this possible? Do some kind of flash loan on Sol? Okay, so this is about the Oracle, custom Oracle. Flash loan, let's see. I haven't thought about this. The dev team is thinking about the exploitation angle. So if you were to do a flash loan, what would you do? For example, let's see. Say you borrow UXD, then you sell UXD, price falls. So now UXD is cheaper. UXD is cheaper, which means on the Sol UXD pair, Sol is more expensive. So now you market, or not market, yeah, you sell Sol for UXD because now it's cheaper. And then I guess the hope is now you have more UXD than what you borrowed. And you pay back the flash loan and you have some extra UXD. I guess that's the hope. Is that possible? I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure this is like the dev team has thought about this because like that's how you would do the exploitation by manipulating the price. My gut instinct is that that would be hard because one, you have the flash loan fee, and then you have the two trading fees on the UXD USDC pool and then the Sol UXD pool. So yeah, it seems like it would be hard to overcome all three fees. But yeah, those are my in the moment thoughts. I haven't thought about it deeply, but yeah, dev team could probably give more insight on that. All right. I hope that's satisfactory for now. Epромino says follow-up question regarding custom Oracle for UXD. Why won't you use a similar methodology to how Pyth is doing their price feed calculation? For example, using a weighted average among 3 or more UXD USDC pools. So I think that isn't, or oh yeah, okay, you say weighted average. I was gonna say, yeah. So if you did a weighted average, maybe that would work. Yeah, possibly so. Um, Let me mention this to the team later. Remind me. In case I forget, please remind me later. Okay. Thanks for the idea. Bandit X0X says Goblin take stablecoin paying protocols like Curve and Saber to provide liquidity are mainly bribes for people to take on the downside risk of holding their inferior stables. Market making fees for algo stables will be negligible. Lifinity should be super careful about the downside risks of these stables. Wait, I am confused. Stablecoin paying protocols like Curve and Saber. What do you mean by stablecoin paying? Because like their rewards are in CRV and SBR. So I mean, and like we're not. Oh, you mean they pay bribes to VeCRV holders? Oh, you mean like other protocols? Yeah, okay. Other protocols pay them in stablecoins, I guess. Or actually, I think they can pay them in whatever. Actually, I think they do pay them in like a bunch of assets. Because like that's what other protocols have is like their native tokens. Anyways, let's see. I mean, like, so yeah, I'm skeptical of that model or like the sustainability of that model. It's kind of like mathemagic. It kind of like covers up. It's like an elaborate way to complicate the incentives that are going on. Or as you say, it's pretty Ponzi like. Like cuz like the bottom line is if you take away all the veils, what you have is the protocol makes trading fees. And then you have liquidity providers. So if you got rid of all the bells and whistles, what would happen is the LPs get the trading fees. And the question is, are those trading fees enough to incentivize the liquidity provision? And like you point out, I think those fees are going to be quite small. And so if it used that simple model, then likely it wouldn't have as much liquidity. But anyways, so what I was confused about is like you're saying Lifinity should be super careful about the downside risks of these stables, which I'm not sure what you're referring to. Because it's not like we're holding their tokens. Um, while you're typing, Speedy says port supports flash loans. Aldrin has a TWAP product. Could use it temporarily. Well, I think Aldrin's TWAP is like using their own pools as the oracle, right? So it's like probably not that accurate because their pools aren't that large. Yeah. Let's see. I am I'm trying to decide whether to wait for Bandit to type or to move on to the next question. Too much context switching. All right. Bandit says, "Oh right, I thought that we would be market making UXD USDH with our treasury, but I was wrong." Yeah. So because we're doing the market making as a service, or that's what they chose, they will be providing the assets, not us. So yeah, we won't be holding those stables. So yeah, we won't have exposure to the risk. Like if the stable goes to zero for whatever reason, like we're fine because we never held it. All right. Promino asks, will you write an article on the performance or the protocol's profit from market making as a service for UXD USDC? And is there any particular reason common to these stablecoin projects on why they'd prefer doing market making as a service instead of liquidity as a service? So our revenue from UXD USDC is like very small because well, one, it's a stablecoin pool, which has small fees relative to volatile pools. And then also because like there's just not a ton of trading volume for UXD, USDC. So yeah, I mean, definitely not worth writing an article on. Like, I mean, there's not really any insight to be had. It's just, a low volume pool basically, and also a stable pool. So, and for a reason why stablecoin projects would choose market making as a service over liquidity as a service. So the way I see it, the trade-off from the project's perspective is that with market making as a service, the hard part for them is that they have to provide the assets. And often projects don't have a ton of idle stablecoins and SOL lying around to be used for market making or providing liquidity. What projects do tend to have a lot of is their own native token. So that's the hard part with market making as a service. And then also, if they're providing their own assets, I guess it depends like whether you think market making profit will be positive or negative, which is pretty dependent on how much volume there is for that pair. And how good the Oracle is, which it should be pretty decent in this case because it's the SOL Oracle is like the main one, which has really good volume on centralized exchanges. So there's that. And then with liquidity as a service, what's nice about that is that it's like easy for them. They just provide liquidity mining incentives essentially, which many protocols are used to doing. They just provide some of their native tokens, and then we provide the assets for market making. And yeah, so the downside of liquidity as a service for the projects is that it's more expensive. With market making as a service, they provide the assets, but they're not giving anything away. It's like they give us the assets to market make, but at the end we give it back to them, right? Whereas with liquidity as a service, the tokens they're giving us, like once they give them to us, they're gone. We're not like renting it or borrowing it or anything. So yeah, that's the trade-off between the two. All right. Some number. Late asks, hi, can you share numbers on channel about revenue we made in May 21? Do you mean like that day? Which day was that? Was that like the huge price decline day? I mean, in general, like we're not gonna, we just can't respond to individual requests like this. Like this does take time. Like the devs would have to, query our data to find out these things. So basically, yeah, so I mean, I understand like people want more granular data, and I mean, so do I. Like that, this is why we're creating the data dashboards, and you can see what we have on the list right now in our dashboards channel, and you can make suggestions for things to be added. But yeah, we just can't respond to like individual requests for like how much revenue was made on this day, or what was the market making profit during this period, or stuff like that. Yeah, otherwise, like context switching is a real cost. So ideally, like we don't want to be asking the devs to like look into these kinds of things. I hope that makes sense. Why I'm rejecting your request. But yeah, it's important that the devs are able to focus on like the most value add things to our protocol. And I mean, just to reiterate, like we do care about data visibility. It's just it takes time for the things to be built out. And once it's built out, it's totally automated, so it won't take time from the devs. So yeah, that's the difference. All right. P2 Moo says, "Hey, Durden, been hearing great things about Lifinity and would like to get invested. 1. Where would you recommend I start? Buy flares, tokens, or something else? 2. Given the bearish macro conditions, do you think I should wait, or is Lifinity fairly bear/recession proof?" All right, so I cannot give investment advice. Um, yeah, so with I'll try to talk about it without doing so. But so yeah, the perennial question is flares or tokens. Um, they have like basically bottom line is there's no way to like calculate which is better. You have to make some like assumptions or guesses. So, okay, with flares, what you have is um, all the revenue being used for buybacks and reinvestment into the pool. The revenue source is the trading fees and market making profit, and also royalties from secondary sales. So the royalties is something that the tokens do not have. So the flares do have an additional source of income. Flares do not distribute rewards the way they are distributed to VE Lifinity holders. So if that's important to you, then yeah, maybe you don't want flares. But if that's if you're so yeah, the way it works with flares is like the value accrues through the buybacks, and that increases the value of the flares, so that when you do eventually sell it, um, they are ideally at a higher price. So yeah, it's basically designed to increase the price over time, and also the total assets that they're backed by, or the rate at which revenue is generated, because of the reinvestments back into the pools. And then also right now, for about a year, flares have they get a 1% of the Lifinity token supply by staking or locking them. So yeah, there's also that to take into account. With the tokens, like mentioned earlier, they have rewards distributed to them, and they also have buybacks. So on the other hand, to get the rewards, you have to lock your Lifinity tokens for VE Lifinity, and the longer you lock them, the more rewards you get. But of course, the trade-off is now they're locked for longer. So yeah, your investment time horizon is also something you should take into consideration. Like, are you okay locking your tokens for 4 years? Um, there's also the option to like sell it as Xlifinity, but of course the liquidity for that is pretty variable as it's dependent on users providing the liquidity rather than the protocol. You can also lock your tokens and then just gradually unlock them over time and sell the tokens as they unlock, for example. Yeah, so like as you can see, there's a lot to take into consideration, and that's why it's not a straightforward thing. Yeah, also with the flares, you can get access to the holders' channels. So there's that too. Yeah, I mean, just like a lot going on. So yeah, just think about all those things. If you want to learn more, just like check out our resources channel. Tons of good resources. Um, Also, you can like ask people in our Discord. People have various opinions, so it's probably good to get some various perspectives. Yeah. All right. second part of your question, given the bearish macro conditions, do you think you should wait, or is Lifinity fairly bear slash recession proof? I have no idea. Like, I mean, this is up to the market, right? I have no insight into the average Lifinity holder, whether they're planning to sell or whether there's going to be new entrants buying Lifinity, locking it up, increasing the price. Like, I don't know. Anything could happen. I mean, so I would say, I guess, relative to other protocols, like, I mean, this is kind of separate from like the bearish macro, whatever. Lifinity does not have token. We don't do liquidity mining. There is emissions for the flares right now that will last for a year. After that, we will have no liquidity, or there will be no token emissions, or yeah, there won't be an increase to the circulating supply. Actually, there will be through the team's allocation, which will start vesting after 6 months for 4 years. So there will be that. Yeah, and then the flares emissions will end after a year. But anyways, bottom line, we don't do liquidity mining, which is usually like the largest contributor to circulating supply inflation. So in that sense, like if you look at other protocols who like, throughout even this bear market, they're still emitting more tokens. Um, yeah, I mean, it kind of makes it tough for them. And then we also have the buyback. So that's kind of designed to like scoop up the supply even as the supply increases. So um, yeah, I guess those are some things to keep in mind. I mean, but yeah, like I said, that's like not really related to like the market being bearish. Like, I mean, it also applies to a bull market too. So whatever. But yeah, those are some of my thoughts. I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any further questions. All right, Bandit X0X. Oh, right. I thought that we would be market making. All right. Yeah, we already covered that. All right. Universe says, hi, just joined the AMA. Did you answer my question sent a few days ago? If so, I will check the recording after the. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I answered your question near the beginning. Yeah, so listen to that later. I gave a pretty long answer. So yeah, check that out and let me know if you have any follow-up questions. Henry says, and also because Saber have set the fees to 0.001% on UXD USDC, aka zero, to catch more volume. Yeah, so I think he's just talking about the fact that we don't have much revenue for the UXD USDC pool. Yeah. All right, P2 Moose says, which is better for passive income, assuming it's a long-term play for me? Yeah, I mean, so like even that, it's not obvious because so for example, like with the flares, it's all about how much is the value of the flare going to increase. And there's also the Lifinity allocation, so you have to take that into account too. But like for the most part, like it's about how much is the value of the flare going to increase from where it's currently at if you buy it right now. So and like that, a lot of that is dependent on speculation, right? Like over the long term, it's more dependent on the fact that Lifinity just continues to buy back the flares. Then over the short term, it's more of a like, okay, how many new entrants are there going to be, and how many people are going to try to exit their flare positions? Whereas with the VE Lifinity, I mean, that also has the speculative element regarding the value of Lifinity and X Lifinity, but it also has the rewards component where we're directly distributing rewards. So, and that's going to be like more stable, more predictable than the amount of speculation, right? So it's just not obvious. It's really hard to pin down. Bandit X0X says buy X Lifinity for a price lower than Lifinity price, then convert to VE Lifinity. It's cheaper than locking Lifinity. Yeah, so right now we have Lifinity at 44 cents. Then X Lifinity, the lowest ask is 38 cents on Serum. So yeah, if you're looking to get that 4-year locked VE Lifinity, which is the max locking length, then yeah, the optimal way is to buy X Lifinity and then convert it to VE Lifinity. Yeah. So if you decide to go that route, that's definitely the way to do it. P2 Moose is also, yes, fully agree with the no liquidity mining. Not a great system. Lots of mercenary money. Yeah, for sure. And White Turtle Bill saying, check out resources, the resources channel, if you've got time to read. Tokenomics articles are legendary. Yeah, we definitely have unique tokenomics. So yeah, if you're thinking about deciding between flares and Lifinity, then yeah, you'll definitely need to dive into the tokenomics to understand what the hell's going on. All right, well, we've reached the end of the questions, at least for now. Although I know that with time, new ones always keep coming in. But let's see if anyone on Twitter has any questions, we can bring them up. So just request to speak, and then I can bring you on stage. And if not, yeah, I can also just wait a little bit for more questions in the Discord. P2 Moose says, thank you so much for going into great details. We'll definitely read more on the resources and ask a bit more questions to the community before deciding. Very nice. We love to see people doing their research as they should. Yeah, go ahead, ask another question. Yeah. I mean, no one is popping up on Twitter yet, so ask away. Bandit asks, what did you do in DeFi before joining Lifinity, and what poker format did you use to play? Yeah, so DeFi, the first thing I ever did was I was an LP on Uniswap V2. It's like it's quite a while back. And then that was the only DeFi thing I did on Ethereum. Mainly because like, everything was just so expensive. So I was very hesitant to do like other stuff. And then eventually joined Solana. Yeah, and then as Henry mentions, the legendary Grapevine newsletter. Yeah, those were the days, eh? I mean, that was yeah, so for those who don't know, I started this newsletter. First it was called the Solana Update, and then later turned into the Grapevine. Just like basically aggregated tweets, like Solana related tweets every day without fail. And because like I wanted that thing, like I wanted that to exist and it didn't exist, so I just like made it. Like it's similar to if you know DeFi Daily, which is like the same thing mainly for Ethereum, although now they've like branched out to cover like a bunch of chains, I guess. But it's like very not comprehensive. Anyways, the one we did for Solana, it was comprehensive. And we did it every day, which was like a lot of work and but like also like super useful. Um but unfortunately no one really wanted to fund it. So like it just died out, which is really sad. Um because now we all need to scroll through Twitter individually, so now we're all wasting more time, including me. But yes, I mean, so that was one thing I did. What did I do in DeFi before that? I think I started off by providing liquidity on Radium, and probably got wrecked. I'm in permanent loss. And started using lending protocols. I was using like Parrot. Um, I think the most profitable thing I ever did on DeFi was the Parrot thing where I leveraged PSOL. So like let's see, you'd stake your soul on Parrot and then you'd get um Parrot Soul, and then you can borrow P Soul against that, and P Soul is supposed to be pegged to Soul. So then you could trade your P Soul for Soul, and then you can repeat that staking process. So that basically you have like leveraged staking yield. So I think I was getting like 100% APR or Y, I can't remember, on my Soul, which is like insane, right? And like who's paying for that? Well, it's the people who gave me like the free, like, or like almost free leverage from letting me convert my P Soul for Soul. Like they're the ones missing out, and now like they're stuck in their P Soul. And anyways, so I'm getting 100% APR APY, but then also after a while, like it was starting to sound like Parrot was gonna fix the exchange rate for P Soul and Soul, because like it was heavily imbalanced, right? Like everyone's taking out leverage, so it's like 80% P Soul, 20% Soul in their pool. And so when I heard that they were thinking about that, I was like, well, might as well get out of it while the exchange rate is like super favorable. So then now I exchange all my P Soul back to Soul. Wait, is that the way? Oh no, it's the other way. So yeah, I put my I repay my P Soul debt. I get the Parrot Soul back. I exchange the Parrot Soul for Soul, and then exchange the Soul for P Soul and keep doing that until I repay all my debt. But I'm getting the P Soul like super cheap. So in the end, like I did something like I think I like doubled my Soul because of the exchange rate. Like this is totally separate from the APR part. I mean, that was good too, but like this exchange rate thing was like the real juice. Just get to pay your debt back really cheap after getting like a near 1-to-1 exchange rate when you first made the like put on the leverage position. Those were the days. Yeah, so that's something I did. And then what poker format did I play? I used to play Heads Up Sit and Goes, Hyper Turbo, if you're familiar with that. So basically you start with 25 big blinds. Um, and then the blinds go up quite fast. So like it's basically the most math oriented form of poker because it's the most easy to apply GTO, game theory optimal, and that's a poker term. It's not a real term. But yeah, you can basically subject it to the most mathematical analysis. I mean, nowadays you can just like solve the entire game basically because the game tree is so small. Anyways, yeah, Bandit says they used to play Heads Up Sit and Go Hypers too. But yeah, I never got like super high stakes. Like I never challenged the cartels, if you know what I'm talking about. Anyways, we're kind of getting into the weeds now. People probably have no clue what we're talking about. um, yeah, Speedy Durden for squid fries. Yeah, no way, dude. Like I don't even think Anatoly knows who the fuck I am. Okay. P2 Moo says, I'm spinning up a podcast series called Solana Insights for the community to discover the many gems available. Took me so long to find your awesome project. Trying to get as many founders on as possible to tell their origin stories. We're starting to roll out next week and already have folks like Radium, Solend, Genesis Go, etc. on the lineup. Would be honored to have you on as well. Yeah, I'd be totally happy to come on. Yeah, let's work that out. Sounds like fun. P.S. Found out about Lifinity through the founders of Soul Cartel and Gaius. They said many good things. I'm not familiar with Soul Cartel, but yeah, Gaius has always been an awesome community member. Uh, yeah, awesome. Sweet, we'll add you and we can chat. Sounds good, dude. Epramino says, in one of the recent announcements, you mentioned about support for staked Soul tokens, MSOL and ST-Sol. Will this become MSOL USDC pool or MSOL Sol pool? So I think we're gonna do both because yeah, like once we have the custom oracles for the staked Sol tokens, like you can use them for both. So I don't see why not. I mean, like the MSOL, the USDC paired ones will probably be more profitable because they're the volatile pools. But yeah, I think the yield on the uh the stable pools, MSOL, Sol, for example, I think those are pretty decent too. Although I'm not 100% sure. Yeah, you say looking at the recent Jupiter stats, MSOL Sol seems to have decent volume while exposing less impermanent loss compared to MSOL USDC. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, it's a stable pair. So, yeah, I think so. Actually, so the one thing I'm really excited about the MSOL Sol pool is that our custom oracle is going to have a very unique effect on the market. So, like, if you guys look at the the rates, the what do you say? The Yeah, the rates for like exchanging Sol to like ST-Sol or M-Sol, you'll notice that oh yeah, and then also look at like if you stake Sol on like the Marinade or the Lido sites, like directly you just stake your Sol to get the ST-Sol or M-Sol. You'll notice that the rates that you get on the market are like 99.9% of the time higher than what you'll get by staking directly. And the reason for this is, I assume, because a lot of people, when they want to exit their MSOL or ST-Sol positions, they just sell on the market. And very few people actually go through the process of unstaking on the website. And then once the epoch ends, you get your Sol back. Like, probably a bunch of people don't know how to do that. And I guess a lot of people are just too lazy to do that, even though like they're gonna get more Sol back that way. I guess they don't want to wait or like whatever, right? Anyways, so the point is like the rate is like much higher when you just buying it on the market, buying the staked Sol tokens, that is. And yeah, the interesting thing about the staked Sol tokens is that the rewards they get from staking the Sol, the staking rewards, those accrue to the token at the end of each epoch because that's like all the rewards are distributed at the end of each epoch. And it's not like gradually over time. It's like a step function where okay, epoch ends, rewards distributed, then nothing distributed until the next epoch ends. Which is kind of weird. Like the question is, okay, what should the actual value of the token be? Does it make sense that the staked Sol tokens suddenly increase in value at the end of each epoch because that's when all the rewards are accrued? Like maybe that's one way to think about it, but maybe a more reasonable way to think about it is even though that's actually what's happening, if you're trading the token, it might make more sense to assume, like, act as if the rewards were accruing linearly over time. So even though they're not actually emitted, like, since we're just going to be holding the staked tokens anyways, it kind of makes sense to behave as if the rewards were gradually accruing. Because like say you're 10 seconds before the epoch ends. Like, does it really make sense to think that, well, you haven't gotten any of those rewards yet, so, you know, your stake soul token is still worth as much as it was like 2 days ago? Like, personally, I don't think that makes much sense because, like, I mean, if you just wait another 10 seconds, all the rewards come rushing in. So I think the method that makes more sense and the thing we're implementing for our Oracle is that you just assume as if the rewards were being distributed over time. Sorry, so this is like a long, I know I'm like talking about this for a long time. But so what that effect will do is that we're going to be pricing more effectively compared to other protocols. Other protocols, like they don't use an Oracle or this custom Oracle. So it's purely based on market demand to enter and exit the positions. But because if we price our staked soul tokens linearly, as if the rewards were being distributed linearly, that means basically we're providing more accurate pricing. And so there's going to be tons of arbitrage opportunities. So basically on all these other protocols, they're pricing their staked soul tokens quite low. Like I was saying, you get a better price when you just buy them on the market rather than staking directly, because apparently, you know, there's a tons of people wanting to exit, so they price it really low, and there's not enough demand to buy those tokens to like move it to the price it would be if it was if rewards were distributed linearly. But now we're going to be this new market participant who offers prices according to that linear function. So then people will be able to arbitrage against our pool. So like, okay, MSOL is quite cheap on Orca, so you can buy it there, and then they can sell it to us because we think it's actually more valuable because, well, hey, it's only 10 seconds more till the epoch ends, type of thing. So basically, we will be able to, I think, buy the stake soul tokens at like cheaper prices, if that makes sense. Anyways, yeah, so there will be like a bunch of arbitrage volume. It's kind of how I see it playing out. All right, that was a long, long explanation. I hope I communicated it. I feel like I could have done it better. All right, let me take a sip. Where am I? Okay. King of the North, a few heads up sit and go cartel members, big flare holders. Is that true? P2 Moo, oh yeah, covered that. Bandit says MNGR.io gave you guys a shout out as the best market making solution before. MNGR, for those who don't know, is a major crypto market making firm. Did he ever talk to you guys or express interest in investing? Yeah, I mean, like, we've been talking to MNGR behind the scenes from before the IDO. So it's likely they had interest if we had gone the VC route. But yeah, we didn't. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, yeah, they've been great, like, as a sounding board. Yeah, I mean, like mostly it was Luffy talking to them. So like I haven't talked to them too much, but yeah. Yeah. Let's see. J Sweat says, "Won't we be overpaying until the end of the epoch though? Is it considered accurate though if they haven't actually accrued rewards yet?" So I think so. So for example, let's see. I want to try to do an example. So like say MSOL is currently worth 1 soul. Like it's the very beginning of MSOL. And then ignore the number, the accuracy of the number, but like say after one epoch, the M SOL will be worth 1.001 SOL. But and then like an epoch is like what, 3 days or something ish. And so say, almost 3 days has passed. There's 1 minute left. And other protocols are still pricing MSOL at exactly 1 SOL. But we're like, well, in 1 minute, it's going to, quote, turn into 1.001 SOL. So let's just price it slightly below that right now. And then people will buy the MSOL from the other protocols and then sell it to us at this cheap price. I mean, I guess this isn't really answering your question, but like, I hope you see my point where 1 minute later, it's like we're going to look back and be like, wow, we just got an amazing price for MSOL. Like, like they sold it to us for 1.0000001 SOL, and now it's worth 1.001 SOL, which is a lot more. I hope that makes sense. Like, so I guess the one risk is like, if you saw that thing with Marinade where some of their stake got accidentally unstaked, so they like missed an epoch worth of rewards for, I forgot if it was all of their SOL or like a bunch of it. So if that happened, then like, well, our assumption that the rewards were distributed linearly would have turned out to be wrong in retrospect, right? So in that case, we would have made a quote bad trade. But yeah, I think the risk of that is very low. And even if it does turn out like that, it's not like we're going to be totally wrecked. It'll be like a slightly bad trade, but like, yeah. So yeah, if the staking protocols work as intended, then it should work fine. Let's see. Bandit says FTX also has MSOL, STSOL, right? Will that price be incorporated into the Lifinity pricing? So you might have not been with us. We used to have a MSOL USDC pool, and we used the Pyth price feed for that. But the problem with that was all the MSOL trading volume was basically on Solana. So like the FTX trading was like not helpful. It didn't really give us an edge. Like the whole reason the Sol USDC price feed is so useful is because most of the Sol trading volume is on centralized exchanges. And so price moves faster on the centralized exchanges compared to the decentralized exchanges. So that it wasn't working like that for the MSOL, which is why the pool was like basically highly susceptible to impermanent loss. Like we basically just function like a constant product market pool or market maker. So yeah, that's why we closed that pool down, and it's why we're now looking into creating this custom oracle. It's going to be based on the Sol price feed of Pyth. Yeah, okay. Promino says regarding MSOL Sol pool, since there will be a lot of expected arbitrage trades around mid epoch to end of epoch, can we use an adjusted trading fee based on the remaining time to the next epoch to maximize profitability? I'm not sure why we would need to adjust the trading fee. like the adjustment of the price should like provide the effect that we need to get those favorable trades. At the moment, the trading fees for MSOL, Sol Pool on Crema and Mercurial is at 0.001%, and on Saber it's 0.001%. Oh, I didn't know it was that low. Saber is at it again, maximizing those volume numbers. um, yeah, I wonder how profitable it would be then. It's potentially quite low then, huh? Yeah, I might be wrong about how profitable it might be. Because like the USDC USDT pool, I think the fee is now 0.001% on Saber. Or maybe 0.001%, I'm not sure. Which is like very low, and it's like so low that our previous strategy that we mentioned, the stable pool strategy, where like we always provide the best ask or best bid on Jupiter, like that one wouldn't really work. Like the space in which we can operate is too narrow when what we're competing against is 0.0001%. So yeah. Might not. Yeah, now I'm not sure if the MSOL Sol Pool would be worth it. Anyways, yeah, the devs will look into that more closely. Prominent says, for example, you can set a higher trading fee as we get closer to the next epoch, because that's when the arbitrage traders would benefit most. Well, so the thing is, like, as we get closer to the next epoch, we're changing our price. So, yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is, like, the price, like, does that affect for us naturally. We don't need to layer on a higher trading fee on top of that. So our revenue is volume times trading fee. So if we do higher trading fees, it means we'll have less volume. So like that'll probably like cancel each other out. Net effect. Yeah, so I think just changing the price, which will naturally according to our oracle, it will go down. Or no, the price will go up as we near the epoch. Yeah, that will have the intended effect. It's like because we're increasing the price of it, that actually makes it easier to do the arbitrage trades because the other exchanges are stuck at their lower prices for the staked SOL tokens, whereas we're gradually increasing the price of it. So when it increases enough, the arbitrage trade becomes possible. So yeah, it should do that naturally. Saber trading fees pegged to Luna price. Let's see. I haven't checked Twitter in a while. Okay. No requests to speak. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Sorry if you requested and I forgot to check. Anyways, we have reached the end of the questions once again. I guess I can wait another short while if anyone has any more questions. In the meantime, Maybe I can look at flares on solanafloor.com. Eprominus has good news. At the end of the AMA, the flares floor price has raised to 7.75 Sol. Yeah, like a couple hours ago or a few hours ago, it was like 6.3. Floor was pretty thin, I guess. We have 287 flares listed right now. It's a steady downtrend over the past week. Number of owners increasing steadily over the week. Nice. Interestingly, the most flares are listed between 9 and 10 Sol. Huh. I thought it would have been concentrated at the floor, but I guess not. I thought I saw Tajuma typing something, but I guess they canceled. All right, well, am I waiting for a 50 floor price? You know what I'm waiting for? I'm waiting for, what was it? I think it was 35. Because if you look in our highlights channel, we have a legendary set of 3 posts. ASM 12, Dot, and Ice. They all pledged to tattoo a flare onto themselves when the price reaches 35 Sol. I'm waiting for this. Waiting for the moment. I want to see those tattoos, man. Like, how cool would that be? All right, but anyways, I think everyone's gotten their questions in. Yeah, so everyone, thanks for the questions. Thanks for joining us today. It was fun. It's been a while, and you guys always provide me with the tough questions, the fun questions. But yeah, like it feels good to interact with the community live again. It's been a while. As you know, we have a ton left to do, so much to build. This is actually a good thing. There's a few protocols where like they have nothing left to build, I guess. It feels like it. But like we just have so many ideas, so many possibilities. So it's just a matter of execution. And yeah, we're working on that. Biddle time. Bear market, good time for biddle. So yeah, that's what we're focused on. Yeah, I'm just babbling now. All right, so yeah, once again, thanks for joining. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the Discord. Cheers, guys.